This is the first episode thus far in the series where we have not seen Gon at all, but it was nice that it gave us some insight and focus solely on Kurapika.
Hunter, Hunter, episode 39, Wish and Promise.
And here's the Kurapika episode. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and intense tale of Hunter x Hunter. So intense I had to say it twice and then a third time to illustrate the 2 times prior. The previous episode that we had here, the last episode, really was Gon and Killua and finding out a little bit about Gon's background as far as his dad, and really ended with them departing Whale Island and heading towards York New City, and that's where the episode leaves off. This one goes and picks up about 6-7 episodes back. We saw about a 4 or 5 minute 4 or 5 minute sequence with Kurapika. And he was he was rejected by this agency, kind of like an agency that hires probably like bounty hunters, bodyguards, things of that nature, just like an employment agency, because he did not yet know Nen and had not finished his hunter exam. And the first 5 minutes or so of the episode actually kind of pissed me off because it was just an exact retelling of what had just happened 6 or 7 episodes ago. He comes upon this mysterious figure, in the woods. This person takes his license and then says, "Hey, listen, you don't know anything of Nen." Kurapika gets pissed, tries to fight him to get the license back. Finally breaks down and it's raining and he's like, "Oh man, I need to get stronger to be able to fight on my own." And this sort of unshaven fellow, says, "I'll train you." So we wind up getting, that's what, the solid first, 4, 5, 6 minutes of the episode is an exact retelling of that. However, it was nice to, I guess the rest of the episode for me made up for it, because then we wind up finding out that Kurapika, we find out, is actually, his ability is he's a conjurer. And he says, "Well, I'd rather be an enhancer," and the guy says, "Well, listen, you can't debate what you're born with, And then he goes and lays out, like, the chances that you have of learning other things, 80%, 60%, depending on how close it is on that hexagonal, kind of wheel that has the different powers on it. And then explains that, you can learn things outside of what you are meant to do, kind of what your specialty is, being a conjurer, for instance. You can learn those things, but they're only half as powerful, and they're much more of a strain on you, physically and mentally. And I mean, if you don't know how to use them properly, you can actually wind up hurting or killing yourself, So it is kind of neat to see this in this back and forth, and then Kurapika winds up going back to the talent agency, or whatever you want to call it, the employment agency, to pick up a job, and is given a choice. He has no experience, he has his license, he now knows Nen. It's been a few months later, and it kind of goes back and forth between this and actually what had happened with this master that was teaching him the Nen. And really, some of the things that I thought were pretty important that comes out is that he wants to know if you can conjure. The master says, can you conjure a sword that's unbreakable? He says, no, that's impossible. It has to be something that can be within the realm of humanity. Something that can actually exist. And he says, yeah, you can conjure any type of weapon, but it won't be as strong or as sturdy as a real weapon that you could just go and buy. However, you can make it appear and disappear at will, but it does take extreme concentration, focus, and imagination to do that. So Kurapika, the thing that I took that was real important from here, and I think is going to wind up playing into and being pretty cool, is that he wanted to learn how to conjure chains. And the master's like, why chains? It doesn't make any sense. They can be broken, And it's cool how he explains about how, like, there's basically some unbridled evil going on over here running loose that needs to be chained up, that needs to be chained down. So it's kind of like it's a metaphor, but I think it's really cool, So the first half of the episode winds up getting rounded out with him actually getting 3 choices, three potential employers that, even with no experience, will still at least interview him, and then based on the interview, hire him or not, right? So out of the 3 choices, none are really that exciting to hear except for the third one, which is actually a trophy collector, a collector of, like, human parts, man. And they're talking about, like, jelly children, infant skulls, and skin of this and that. It really sounds kind of freaking creepy. But you got to remember that he's on the hunt for the Phantom Troop, which goes and obviously takes the eyes, of the Kurtas, I believe is the background, the name of where he comes from, like his nationality or his background, and takes their scarlet eyes, right? So we know that he's looking for somebody in the kind of deep underbelly of the world, you know, and he winds up requesting something that's in New York New City around the time, I guess, of the auction, you know, that's going to be there, that huge world's auction deal they got going. So that's the first half of the episode in a nutshell. The second half, it's kind of cool, and at first it was a little confusing because it shows us a few different characters, and a couple of them of note, I think, are this one very, very beautiful looking woman that she can give you a kiss, and when she gives you a kiss, she has this ability, at least one of her abilities with her power, with her Nen, is actually able to control you, 180-minute love something, you know, and basically make you like her love slave, and you'll do anything for her because you're totally in love with her. And she tells this guy to beat up these other 3 guys who were with him because they were giving her trouble. And then they go and they show this other dude that's sitting there. He's got kind of a hairy chest. He's got these big mud chops, sideburns, these pork chops hanging. He's writing some poem on top of a building, and police are coming and trying to stop him, or security guards. And he winds up going and, you know, just with super speed and strength, beating the shit out of all of them, and then continues writing his poem. Anyway, it winds up all kind of going and wrapping into and I guess the plot lines that are dangling and whatnot, the threads, all wind up coming together, and we see that where Kurapika was sent for this interview, this huge mansion, that's where all of these different people are meeting up, these bounty hunters. And also of note too, when Kurapika was leaving the employment agency, she passed by this other dude that looks real funny. He's got like these sort of like 2 little teeth like hanging down, you know, almost there's that like gopher look to him, or woodchuck, I guess you would say. And he can sense Kurapika's heartbeat and like just like this rage, and why is it such an angry, rageful heartbeat, you know? And he winds up being one of these potential contract bounty hunter or whatever, bodyguards or whatever the case may be. And actually, all 3 of the jobs I forgot, yeah, they're all bodyguard-based jobs. So anyway, so Kurapika and the weird, you know, woodchuck dude and the hairy chest dude with the pork chops and this other chick, you know, the nice-looking chick that can kiss you and get you to do whatever she wants, they all wind up showing up there amongst a couple others. And for this interview, and they go inside this mansion, and the butler brings them in and closes the doors and has them all kind of sit down and chill for a minute. And then on a big screen comes this person, you know, on there that basically says, listen, here's the deal, okay? You know, I don't really care. I'm not going to ask you if you have a hunter license or not or whatever. The bottom line is that whoever wants the job, we're going to send you out on, they give them these like data cards, these almost like little iPod type things. And there's a list of different things that this person, this collector of these weird sort of obscure body parts and things like that, where you can find. And one of them is like the right hand of an Egyptian mummy. One of them is actually eyes of a kurta, which Kurapika kind of just like, you know, freaks out when he's looking at that. But there's several other just weird things on there, and they're all going to be sent out. And there's 1 month until the big, you know, auction at York New City. So we presume that it's obviously in August now. It's the beginning of August or end of July. And in that period of time, whoever can, you know, go out and fetch one of those items, find one of those items, steal by whatever means necessary, I'm assuming, bring back one of those items, they of course will then get the contract and get the job, and then we'll be kind of hired on and eventually taken under the wing and the protection of this employer or whatever. And Kurapika's whole thing is, I'll just get closer, I'll do this, and I'll be able to get closer and closer and gain the trust of the boss, you know, who he's smart enough to realize is probably not even this dude that's on the screen, right? He's probably a couple levels beyond that. But what winds up happening, and I think the cool kicker of this whole thing, is that at the end, somebody goes to open the door to leave, and it's locked, right? What the hell? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the dude on the screen, he's like, I forgot to mention, you do need to be strong for this job. So you're going to have to first go and figure out how to get out of here, you know, to escape the mansion, to be able to even go try to retrieve one of these parts, right? And then the episode ends with a bunch of, like, I don't know, they look like assassin ninja-like things kind of coming out of nowhere, out of the smoke. And you see Kurapika standing like 3 or 4 wide with some of these other assassins. And you saw during the course of the episode too, and I don't know whether they were conjured or whether he actually manufactured these, and then he's going to use his conjuring ability to enhance them. But he's got these chains that are like almost like on rings. There's like rings on his fingers with chains coming off of them. So I can't wait to see that, man, because I don't know if that's going to be used as like a flail or a mace, or used to wrap people up, choke them, bring them into you, hit them. I don't know. Or in conjunction with those cool, like, Tonfa-like, you know, batons that he had. I don't know, but that was, for me, that was the cool part of it, seeing that. So this was a very, very nice episode in the sense that it took us away from Gon and Killua, who we've seen in almost every episode now so far, it took us and put us in the shoes of another one of what I consider, I guess, the 4 or 5 main characters. I'd put Hisoka in there too because he's been seen quite frequently. But it was nice to go and focus solely on this one character, and I wasn't worried about where Gon and Killua were. I wasn't like, oh shit. Like if I was watching this the week that it came out and had to wait till next week, I'd be like, all right, cool, whatever. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. You know, definitely above average, a lot of fun. You know, some action in there and introducing a bunch of new characters. So that's where the episode leaves off. Brothers and sisters, my episode question for you, though, is what out of these new bounty hunters, and they didn't really give us any of their names, but out of these new sort of bounty hunters that you saw, you know, vying for this job along with Kurapika, which one did you think was the coolest out of the different ones that we saw with powers and things like that? Coolest looking, coolest powers, whatever, just your favorite one. Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Remember to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my other channel.